Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, on what is the start of a new day, a new week, a new month, and a brave new world for Scotland, where free thought, free expression, and independence of mind are now but distant concepts. But we're going to begin the day with a look at Biffa, and they are going to sue the Scottish Government for £100 million. Now, the story broke yesterday afternoon. I did a quick flash video on it, and I think I called them Bibby. I don't know why. Completely different company. I panicked. I wasn't at home, and therefore didn't have all the relevant sort of ability to check up on what was actually going. Yes, I did have my phone, I know, but I was in the middle of a family gathering for Easter. But, we have got the story here, and I did say at the time, once Jeffrey pulled the plug on the DRS, that this would likely happen. I was surprised it's taken so long, but I presume because it's so complex, they wanted to get all their legal eagles together to make sure the case was sound. And for the SNP, it must be very worrying, given their history of court cases and their singular inability to win them. So let's take a look to see why Biffa are going after the money and what the upshot of this could be. Here goes. So, waste firm threatens to sue Scottish Government for £100 million over failed DRS. And I do feel I need to be saying £100 million like that, because it is kind of that thing, isn't it? It's just money that you just don't deal with. Where are they going to get £100 million? They haven't got £100 million to give to the councils. This is what happens when you allow morons control. When you put chimps in charge of the environment, they fill the world with bananas. And we have certainly got a bunch of bananas sitting in Holyrood. Biffa plans to take legal action in an effort to recover the investment it made preparing for the DRS scheme, which then, thanks to Lorna Slater and an inability to listen to people, was scrapped. A major waste firm has threatened to sue the Scottish Government for £100 million over the bungled DRS. Holyrood ministers hope Scotland will be the first UK nation to bring in a deposit return scheme, but the project was scrapped after concerns from supermarkets, shops, drinks firms and a partial block by the UK Government. The UK Government obviously stepping in to say don't need to do anything with glass. The glass recycling scheme is so damned efficient, it's perfect, let's not play around with it. That's not the Holyrood way, of course. With the SNP, instead of saying if it ain't broke, don't fix it, they say if it works, let's break it. Biffa now plans to take legal action in an effort to recover the investment it made preparing for the scheme, according to the Sunday Mail. The company bought almost 200 new trucks and had started recruiting staff when Green Minister Lorna Slater axed the plan last June. Now, had Lorna Slater been a woman of honour, a woman who could see that she was completely out of her depth, and indeed had the Greens now been a party which could accept that it had failed, they would all resign. But of course this is the Greens, they enjoy their big fat salaries and never ever any of them going to earn anything like the money they're getting at the moment. And so no, resignation is never going to happen. And likewise and similarly, if Humza Yousaf had anything down the front other than the smooth plastic Ken doll appearance that he apparently has, then he would have fired them out of government as well. But of course he's aligned himself so tightly with them, tied himself to their mast, that if they go down, he goes down. And so he can't be seen to fire them, despite the mess they're making. And when the people of Scotland are presented with a £100 million bill, we all know who to blame. Taxpayers have already lost millions to the failed scheme after Circularity Scotland, the company set up to run it, collapsed in July. It had been handed £9 million by the Scottish National Investment Bank. Mere chicken feed in comparison with what's about to come. Because don't forget, it's the £100 million plus the costs. A source with knowledge of Biffa's claim said a huge investment was made in preparing for this contract and assurances were given that it would be going ahead. When it was cancelled, Biffa lost a significant amount of money and has no choice but to try and recover some of that from the Scottish government, given it was their scheme and they were responsible for it. And they, of course, were responsible for pulling it. The Scottish Government hoped to restart the scheme when England and Wales launched their own versions in 2025. But the UK Government has delayed it at least 2 more years, leading Slater to write to Environment Secretary Steve Barclay on Friday. Because she knows by the time this comes in, she won't be in government and may not even be an MSP. The scheme aimed to boost recycling rates and reduce litter by charging a 20% deposit on all glass and plastic drink containers. The deposit would be reclaimed when empties were returned to machines at shops. Small drinks firms complained they need different labels and barcodes for their products being sold in Scotland to those going to the rest of the UK. Smaller shops said they lacked storage space for the empties, and supermarkets turned against the scheme in favour of the UK-wide one that would be coming later. So everyone was against it. The only people for it was Slater and the SNP and the Greens, but they didn't know what they were doing. And when presented with the problem, said, "Oh, it's too hard and too complex and I'm not very bright." And so it was doomed from the very start. Doomed, I tell you. Businesses blamed Slater for not listening to their concerns and trying to steamroll the plans through. SNP Rural Affairs Minister Fergus Ewing called the potential lawsuit shocking and wondered if others would follow. I think if Biffa win this, undoubtedly the likes of Tesco's, Sainsbury's, Morrison's, all the big supermarkets will each launch their own. The Confederation of the Small Grocers, or whatever they call themselves, they will launch one. Everyone will launch one. This isn't going to end at 100 million for Biffa. This is going to be hundreds of millions. Money could be spent elsewhere. Money blown. And why? Because Humza Yousaf doesn't have the balls to fire the Greens. It's such a sad, sad case, isn't it? This is what happens when you have people who do not have vested interests in Scotland taking over without mandate from the people, doing things without mandate from the people, appointing people to government who were never supposed to be there because of their lack of votes, and then sitting back and abdicating all responsibility for everything that follows. It's never Humza's fault, is it? It's never the SNP's fault. It's never the Greens' fault. This apparently is going to be Westminster's fault, or Brexit, or aliens. Who knows? Who knows who they're going to blame when they're writing the cheque out to Biffa for £100 million? Oh dear, it's a terrible, terrible thing. The Scottish Government said it wouldn't comment on a legal threat from Biffa, but stressed it was committed to delivery of a successful deposit return scheme. Well, if it were that committed, you'd have had one by now. It wasn't Westminster that pulled it. It was Lorna Slater when she said, "Oh, we can't do it without glass," despite everyone, and I mean everyone else, saying yes you could. You get what you deserve, and if these people keep voting in the SNP and the Greens, what on earth do you expect? This isn't the first, it isn't the last. There's going to be more of this. And it's all down to the incompetence, stupidity, criminality, and just sheer, basically shittiness of a SNP Green government, none of whom are qualified to do their jobs. None of them have got a clue what they're doing. And they all seem to be unaccountable. Coming up. So there we go. All that money up the Swanee because Lorna Slater couldn't do her job and because Humza Yousaf has no balls. It must be great knowing that no matter what you do, you'll never be fired and that the taxpayer will bail you out for your mistakes. It's going to be hundreds of millions. If Biffa win, every supermarket up and down Scotland is going to put their claim in. Hundreds of millions of pounds. Because, well, this is what happens when you vote these people in. What do you expect? Money that could have been spent elsewhere, now spent on a project that won't even happen. Refunding money for that. A failure of extraordinary amounts of money. That's the Greens though, isn't it? Morons, one and all. And who votes for them? Even bigger morons. Thanks for listening. I hope that's been amusing. Not funny though, really, is it, when it's the amount of money involved? But anyway, do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Bye.